This video is going to discuss the future tense in Spanish. Now, you probably learned a long time ago about what is called the phrasal future, which is a way of talking about events that are going to occur in the future using the present tense, and it is formed with ir plus a plus the infinitive. It's literally translated as going to blank, where this blank is filled in with some verb that you're going to do in the future. And it's really, really convenient because you only have to know the present tense to be able to use it. And in fact, the phrasal future is used much more frequently than the formal future in conversation and in informal writing. However, in more formal academic styles, including books, papers, that sort of thing, you will have to recognize and be able to use the actual future tense, which is why we're going to go over it now. Now, in English, the future tense is a compound tense formed of the helping verb will plus your main verb. So for instance, you might say, I will buy the shirt tomorrow. And that is the future tense in English. In Spanish, the future tense is a simple tense, meaning we don't have a need for this auxiliary verb. The future is expressed solely by means of a conjugation on the main verb. Now, the future tense is slightly different from the tenses you have seen so far, because with most tenses you've seen, you know that you start with just the stem. So you take your verb, you cut off the infinitive ending, and then you add conjugations to that. With the future tense, you start with the whole infinitive. This means that your conjugation endings are stuck right onto the end of the AR, ER, or IR part. Now, a great thing about the future tense is the conjugations are the same for all AR, ER, and IR verbs, and they are as follows. For the yo, we have tú, has, él, ella, usted, ha, nosotros, nosotras, hemos, and ellos, ellas, ustedes, han. Notice that all of the forms have accents except for the nosotros, nosotras. And this is important for pronunciation as well as for when you write it. So let's look at our favorite sample verb, hablar. We have yo, hablaré. Remember again that we're starting with our whole infinitive and then adding the conjugation ending. Tú, whole infinitive and ending. Tú hablarás. Él, ella, usted. Whole infinitive and ending. Hablará. Nosotros, nosotras. Whole infinitive and ending. Hablaremos. And ellos, ellas, ustedes. Whole infinitive and ending. Hablarán. So these all translate as I will talk, you will talk, he, she, you will talk, we will talk, they will talk, etc. So that's that. Now let's go over the few irregulars in the future, because there are a handful. So you're probably used to seeing a few verbs on the list of irregulars, most notably ser, ir, and estar. But in the future, these verbs are actually all regular, which is sort of surprising and also really convenient. However, there are some irregulars, so don't get too excited. The most notable irregulars in the future are tener, poder, poner, haber, and querer. And there are a few others, but in large part they follow the same patterns that you'll see outlined here. So, these four actually, are pretty similar in the way they're formed. What you're going to do with these, instead of starting with the whole infinitive, you drop this, and for tener, you're going to add a D, R, and then the endings, which seems sort of weird, but you'll eventually get used to it and it'll sound normal to you. So, for instance, let's go through the conjugations on this one. We have yo, tendré, tú, tendrás, Él, ella, usted tendrá. Nosotros, nosotras tendremos. And ellos, ellas, ustedes tendrán. Alright, poder is very similar, except your D is already in the stem here, so you basically get rid of this and then just stick an R right there. So it's going to be yo podré, tú podrás, él, ella, usted podrá, nosotros, nosotras podremos, and ellos, ellas, ustedes podrán. Poner, again, is similar. We're going to get rid of our infinitive and add dr. So we have yo pondré, tú pondrás, él, ella, usted pondrá, nosotros, nosotras pondremos, and ellos, ellos, ustedes pondrán. Haber, there's no D in this form, but you sort of get rid of this and just stick an R right here. So we're going to have habré, tú habrás, él, ella, usted habrá, nosotros, nosotras habremos, and ellos, ellas, ustedes habrán. Now please be sure that you are very familiar with the conjugations of haber because it's important for use of the future perfect later on. Alright, querer is sort of similar and a little bit different. It's pretty similar to haber actually in that you get rid of this and add a second R here. So instead of one R you're going to have two, and this means your pronunciation is just going to have like a rolled R in there. So quer instead of quer. So anyway, we're going to have yo querré, tú querrás, él, ella, usted querrá, nosotros, nosotras querremos, and ellos, ellas, ustedes querrán. So you're aware of the use of the future to say things like I will go to the store, which would be iré a la tienda. However, in Spanish the future has another use which it does not have in English, and this is termed the suppositional future. And it is a way of saying must something, and not like you must go to the doctor. It's must like in a suppositional way, so she must be sick, or they must be late. So this is sort of what you're saying with the suppositional future. And it's pretty straightforward and easy to use. The main thing is understanding that you use the future tense for this and not some other construction. So for example, to say she must be sick, we start with our subject, ella, and then must be, this is going to be condensed to the future tense of our main verb, which is to be here. So we're going to have estará enferma. This is frequently used for time. So for example, if we want to say it must be 8, we would say serán las 8. And for other things like, I don't know, they must be tired. Again, our subject, estarán cansados, and things of that nature. So now I'll give you a few examples which you can try to translate yourself and then resume the video. Alright, so here are your sentences to translate. I've given you the verb here in case you didn't know it. The rest you should be familiar with, so go ahead, pause the video, translate the sentences, and then come back for the answers. Alright, so Jorge must enjoy school. First we're going to take our subject, Jorge, and our subject pronoun for that would be él, so we're looking at the él, ella, usted conjugation. We have our verb construction here, must enjoy, which we know will translate to the future tense of gozar in Spanish. So that will be gozará. And with gozar we have de. Jorge gozará de la escuela. Jorge must enjoy school. Number 2, Luisa and Patricia must be cold. So again, we take our subject first. Luisa y Patricia must be cold. So must be is our verb complex here. And you might be thinking that we would want estar for this, but remember that in Spanish, our idiomatic expression for being cold is tener frío. So we actually want the suppositional future, or just the future, of tener, which remember is irregular, so we have tendrán frío.